John chapter 8, verse 12 reads, Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. And here we see Jesus using a metaphor to refer to what his ministry really was, and that is to reveal the truth. You see, when we have light, what it does is it demonstrates to us the reality of our environment. And consequently, darkness does the extreme opposite. Darkness hides things. When we find ourselves in the dark, we find ourselves in a scenario where we can miss that which is there, and then we kind of begin to believe things are there when they actually aren't. And we just use what evidence we have in order to manufacture an idea of what our environment might look like. But what happens is we end up producing these really ridiculous ideas. We'll hear a strange sound, a creaking noise or a tapping noise, and we'll decide that there's a monster out there somewhere, or we'll be certain that something's out there to get us. Or sometimes we'll think a room is bigger than it is, and we end up finding the wall a little earlier than we thought. It's easier to trip over things because we just don't see obstructions. However, when the light is on, everything's easily revealed. You know, when I was a kid, my father used to have this thing he'd always say, when we're looking for something in a room or something, we're like, we can't find something. The first thing he'd always say is the light on? Even if it wasn't even that dark, he'd be like, turn the light on. Step one was always turn the light on. Why? Because that will reveal your environment. Even today, when I'm out there looking for something, and I'm like, oh, I've lost this thing, I can hear my dad in the back of my head, turn the light on, and so I'm always turning the light on. That's the very first thing that I do. And so that is what light does. Now, light can be very repulsive. 5 chapters earlier in John chapter 3, verses 19 through 21, Jesus was talking about why human beings are condemned. And he says, and this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest the deeds should be reproved. I'll tell you, I am very much better looking when I shut the light off. You know, if I go and I look into the mirror in the morning and I say, wow, that looks horrible, and I turn the light off and I can't see me anymore, and I'm like, well, that's better. You see, that's exactly what's going on here. Jesus is saying, I came into the world to show you and to reveal the truth, to show you how things really are. And human beings in our sin, we're so disgusted by the fact of the matter that we are how we are and how ugly we are because of sin, we decide that we'd rather live in the dark. It can be painful to face the truth, and so we won't face the truth. Instead, we'll just run back into the dark, and then we'll decide that being in the dark is the best place to be, and we'll promote what it is like to be darkness and tell each other that being in the darkness is beautiful and that this is wonderful and this is the way it should be, and that's exactly not how it is. The fact of the matter is, Jesus came to show us the truth. He reveals to us the truth, and we can either say, okay, I'm struggling here and I need to fix this, or we can say, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. I don't like that, and then I'll just go back to where it's comfortable. He says in verse 21, but he that doeth truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God. It's like the people who do that which is right, the people that come to the truth, those who are converted, they come to the light and they're honest with themselves. It's to get saved, we go, you know what, Lord, yes, I am sinful. Yes, I am stained. Yes, I have done things that are wrong. It's how can it get fixed? And that is when we put our faith and trust in Christ. He forgives us of our sin, and the stains are dealt with. Instead of us saying, you know what, I don't like what I'm seeing, so I'm just going to run away. And you know what, Jesus isn't the only light. He says in Matthew chapter 5, 14 through 16, during the Sermon on the Mount, he says, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, that it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. As those who have the light, as those who've asked for forgiveness and have our sin washed away, those who've come to the truth, we have now inherited that light, and we are to shine that around our communities and in our lives and in the sinful environment we find ourselves in. Now that we have the light, it is our responsibility to be the light to the world around us. We shouldn't say, oh, we have the light, we've seen the truth, we understand our environment for what it is, now I better hide that and let everybody else stumble in darkness. And that's exactly not what's supposed to happen. When you and I enter a scenario where, we're surrounded by people who are in the darkness, by those who are not believers, we should be realizing that we have a responsibility to shine the light in that area. And it says in verse 16 that they may see your good works. It'll start first and foremost by seeing the fact that you live differently. And why do we live differently? Because we see the world for what it really is, because we've come to the light. And that's a light we need to share with others. Jesus is the light, and those who walk with him, that follow him, will not walk in darkness, but they'll have the light of life.